Hello everyone and welcome to our lesson today on the uses of the verb get. Thank you all for joining. I hope you're all having a lovely day and you're still staying safe inside. I'm happy that you're all learning something and that you're still attending our classes. Again, if you have any questions, please do write it in the chat and I'll be more than happy to help out. So, as normal, when we start the lesson, I would just like to quickly explain our company. We are Cercle and we are based in Paris, and our job is to help you speak English proficiently and fluently. So if you have any questions on pronunciation, on vocabulary or grammar, please do write it in the chat and I'm happy to help out. Hello to everyone who has written in the chat. I'm very well, thank you, Karine. How are you? So, as I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about the verb get today because we use this verb in many different circumstances to describe different things, different actions. There are many different uses and we use it in a combination with many different types of words, which we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk with a very, very quick recap of the lesson yesterday. And then we're going to start talking about the different uses and I'm going to ask you for some descriptions and some examples. So just two very quick questions to recap the lesson from yesterday. We were talking about how nature influences some expressions in business. So, my first question, we're going to see if anyone learned anything yesterday and if you understood the content. What is a path in nature? So, if I'm talking about nature, what is a path? Okay, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think of an answer and write it down. Hello to the new students who are just joining the chat. The lesson today is on the verb get, and we're just doing a really quick recap of the lesson yesterday and a couple of words which are used for both nature and for business. So my first question was, what is a path in relation to nature? So we have some answers already. Anya has written a small road. Fantastic. Normally, if we walk through a forest it's a small track where it is safe to walk. Fantastic description, Anya. Thank you very much. Nana has also written the same example. It's a way. It's a place where you can walk. Fantastic. Elodie has written the same thing. And fantastic, everyone. Thank you for your answers. And it's also nice to welcome back a student from before, Nariman. It's nice to have you back. Thank you for coming today. Okay, in the lesson yesterday, we used the word path to define our career. So what do I mean when I talk about a career path? What is a career path? You may use this in an interview. You may be asked this. What has your career path been like? Why did you choose this career path? What is a career path? So we're talking about business now. So in nature, it's somewhere we can walk. Let's have a look at some of the suggestions in the chat. So Elodie has written its CV. It is similar to a CV. It describes your previous experiences and your previous jobs. Anya has explained it very well here. It's the career development. Where did you start? Where are you now? Fantastic. Okay, so that's exactly right. That's a career path. Very quickly, my next question is, what word do we use with peak in business? So we used this expression yesterday to define a point in the business where things are going very well. If we're looking at the productivity of a year in a business, we could use the word peak with another word to describe the best point of that year. We can also use it to describe people too and how well they, I was nearly said the word there. Okay, fantastic. Anya has written the correct word in the chat. We refer to a peak performance, the best performance in a given time period. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get started on the lesson with the verb get. So let's start the lesson with an open question. What does the verb get mean? When would you use the verb get? For example, if I asked for the description of the verb work, you could describe it as going to your job and doing reports. Or for me, work could be teaching. How would you describe the verb get? So Alexandra thinks get means to take. It can mean that. Let's say I get a pen. I can also say I take a pen. Fantastic. Ania has written to receive. That's another way we can use the verb get. I could say I get mail. I get a present. Okay, I receive these things, but I can also say that I get them. We have a really good suggestion from Corinne too. We use the verb get with prepositions. The preposition that Corinne has used is up. When we say we get up, it refers to the action of getting out of bed. So I get up at 7 a.m. for work. So we have some really good suggestions. I'm glad to see that we have a good knowledge of this verb already. Let's talk about the different uses for it now. So my next question is, can you make me a sentence with the verb get? Okay. I think it's really important to have a basic understanding of the verb before we go into more detail. And this should be quite quick, but what sentence can you think of with the verb get? So I can see Arena has written, I'm getting my job working hard. So what I think you're trying to say here, Arena, is I'm getting a job by working hard. And that's a fantastic example. We can also obtain things by using the verb get. Because you're working hard, you get a job. Fantastic example. Thank you. Elodie has written, I can't get by without my TV. A fantastic sentence again. Yeah, Ania has written, you can get married. Fantastic. I get to school. We also use get to describe getting to a location and arriving at a location. We can use this for school, for work, for many different things. I get to school, I get to bus. That's a really good example. So let's talk about some uses of the verb. So I first want to talk about comparatives. We can use get to describe comparatives. I'm sorry I didn't put an S at the end of the word there, but a comparative. It's when you compare two things or when one situation changes. For example, I can get better at something. I can get better at football if I practice. I can get better at French if I practice. Okay? Here I'm describing the difference and two levels of knowledge. I'm not very good at French now, but I could be really good. I could say I can get better at French. We can also use this to describe illnesses. Let's say that I feel quite unwell. I have a pain in my throat. If I've had this for 1 week and I drink lots of water and I eat loads of vegetables, I could get better. Can you think of another comparative with the verb get? So what other word could we use with get to describe a comparative situation? So I've given an example of get better. Can you think of another example? So we have a sentence from Corinne, which has used my example. She has written, I can get better in English if I was younger. It's an excellent sentence, Corinne, and I don't think age matters. You seem to have really improved in your English and you always try hard, which is fantastic. So fantastic, Nana. Nana has written, I get tired. So, for example, I'm sure in the confinement, lots of us are watching TV and relaxing in the evening. If I watch a film and it's quite late, I can get tired. It means that I've gone from being wide awake and watching TV to getting quite tired and sleepy. Okay, so it's a change of state, a fantastic example. Thank you. Nariman has written, I get angry quickly. So you just need to change the two words around there, Nariman, but a great example to describe a change in state. He can get better than me if he works hard. Perfect. We have some really good examples. So, other examples that I had here for comparatives of where we can use get. I use the example to get better, but we can also get worse. If I don't practice my French, which I do, I can get worse because I forget all my vocabulary and grammar. I can also say, if I'm going swimming in the sea, it can get deeper. The more I swim out to sea, the more deeper I go. I might not be able to stand up if I swim very far. I have another question. I've used get deeper to describe the level in the sea. So deeper is when we go further down, when the ground goes further down underwater. What does it mean if I talk about a conversation and we get deeper? What does it mean in English if I say the conversation gets deeper? We have a deeper conversation. What does that mean? The conversation got deeper. What does that mean in English? Does anyone know? It's an expression that we sometimes use, and we can also use it in business. I'll just wait to see if anyone has an idea. Fantastic. So Arena has written here, to get deeper into a conversation means to have a more serious conversation. We also use this expression in business, and you could also be asked to look deeper into a project or a sales perspective. If my boss asked me to look deeper into the YouTube live stats, I would have to look very carefully at how many people are watching and if they are learning something. It means to be very in depth, to look a lot. So fantastic, really good. The next example of using get is with prepositions. So Corinne had a fantastic example earlier of getting up. I get out of bed. What other prepositions can we use with get? So prepositions are words we normally use to describe the location of some objects. Okay? My pen is in my hand. Now it's on the table. So Elodie has written down some fantastic answers here. Elodie has written to get by. When we talk about getting by, it means to be content. If you said to someone, I'm getting by, it wouldn't mean you're having an enjoyable time, but you're at a point in your life, or you're comfortable, I guess. You're comfortable with where you are. Elodie has also written down to get along. If you get along with someone, it means that you are friends. It means that you're very happy to share time and experiences with them. I get along with my friends. I could say, I don't get along with this person. Okay, so fantastic, Elodie. Good and good answers. Alexandra has written to get up and to get down. Fantastic. If we get down, it refers to a more negative emotion. I could get down about being inside. Okay, fantastic. Nariman has written to get away. It means to distance yourself from something again. Okay, we have some fantastic answers, and I think the majority of the answers are what I have written down here. I also have, in addition to these examples, I have to get along with. I also have to get into. Let's say that I want to go to Le Louvre, but I can't find the door. I could ask, how do I get into the museum? How do I go from being outside the museum lost to being inside the museum? Fantastic. And I also have get together, which you can use for relationships and these kinds of things. So we also talked before about using get to talk about an arrival. I get home, or I get to my office. I can also say get to school. I could ask someone, how do you get to school? And what I mean by this question, how do you get to school? I'm asking, what mode of transport do you use to get to school? My next question is, can you all think of a sentence where you use get in order to describe somewhere where you arrive? So perfect. Virginie has written here, I get to school every day. You do. You arrive at school every day. What other sentences can we think of where we use get to describe somewhere where we arrive? What can you think of? Hello, our new student Jojo. It's nice to have you in the chat. Right now, we're just thinking of sentences with the verb to get. Corinne has written, I get to my office by car. Fantastic. When we use the verb get in relation to arriving somewhere, we normally talk about how we got there. Okay? So, and we also use it to describe when we got back there, as Nariman has just explained. She has said here, I just got home this morning. So if we're talking about the past, we need to use the past of get, which is got. But apart from that, it's a really good example. So, and the next use of get is for receiving items. Receiving items. Like we talked earlier about getting post. What other examples can you think of where we use get and receiving something? What can you think of? What other sentences or examples can we use get for receiving an item? Yeah, we can get a letter. Fantastic. What else can we get? Fantastic, Anya. We can get a call. I could ask my friend, did you get that call from the job? Okay, so we can get calls, we can get post, we can get letters. What else can we get? We use this verb so much, and hopefully this lesson will give you an idea of the concept of the verb and how to use it. It's very common, and we use it for so many different things. For hearing different news and different items on the news. Nariman has written here, I get happy news, or I got some happy news. My friend is going on holiday. That sentence is describing you being told a good piece of information. Fantastic. We can get gifts by post. We can get presents by post. I've written here, we can get grades. So, for example, if any of you are deciding to do a TEFL or a Cambridge exam, you can get a grade. You can also get a certificate if you pass the exam. If you pass your Cambridge exam, you will get a certificate. So if you complete a course or an action and there is a reward, we use this verb get and it describes the thing which you will receive. So again, we're talking about this use of receiving. Okay? I'm trying to have a look if there are any more suggestions. So I'll give you another example and we can get a delivery. So my last use of the verb get is for buying things. So I think the best way to describe get is using this verb as a substitute for many other verbs. So normally in English, when you're trying to construct a sentence or you're trying to talk to a friend, we always try and use our vocabulary so we don't have to repeat the same verb over and over again. So for example, I could say, if I went shopping, I got some shoes. So if I'm telling my friend what I bought, I could say, I bought a jacket, I got some shoes, I took a train, took a train ticket. I also decided to pay for these sweets at the sweet store. It's a lot more interesting and it sounds a lot better than me saying, I bought shoes, I bought a jacket, I bought a train ticket, I bought this and that. We always try and use different verbs to describe different objects. So get is one word that we can use for many different circumstances. So we have some examples here. Anya has written, you got new shoes. Fantastic. There is no need to put the S at the end of news, as news is le journal en français. C'est a newspaper, comme Le Monde or The Telegraph. So we can say new shoes, but a great example. Yeah, Alexandra has written, I got this shirt by internet. We normally say, if we're talking about shopping online, we say, I got this shirt on the internet, or I got this shirt on this website. So it's a preposition that we use for the internet, on the internet, but a really good example nonetheless. I got a new coat. I'll get some money. I got my car. Okay, perfect. So some other examples where we can use get in order to express something we have bought. We can get a jacket. You can get an apartment. And you can also get a job. So obviously you can't buy a job, but you can obtain it. You can go out and get a job. So these are loads of different examples of using get. And now we're just going to test your knowledge of what we've just covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to think of a sentence with the verb get using one of the topics that we've talked about today. For example, if I ask, can you make me a sentence using get? When we're talking about an arrival, you could write, I get to work by train. Oh, I get to work by train. Okay, so you have to use the different subtopics that we've learnt about and practice your English. And I will be here to try and correct you and to help you practice your. We'll start with this question. Can you write me a sentence with get? And we talk about the arrival. What sentences can you think of when you talk about an arrival to somewhere using the verb get? So my example was I get to work by train. What other examples could we use? So fantastic, Ania. I got to Paris yesterday. Fantastic. So obviously, Ania has come from somewhere outside of Paris and she has returned. She has arrived back to Paris. I got back to my apartment after the shopping trip. Okay, you're always referring to when you get back home. So Nariman has written, next week I will get back to the office by bus. Perfect. So you could also say that next week I will go back to work by bus. I will go back to my office by bus. Perfect. How you can use get in questions primarily using these subtopics. So if you want to find out how you arrive somewhere, you could use a question like Arena has. And Arena has asked, how could we get to the factory? It's a fantastic example. Okay, can we use get with a preposition? What sentences can you think of with get when we have a preposition? So we had multiple examples for prepositions. What can you think of? So we have some new comments from Issa. Fantastic sentence. I get to the city. That's a really good example. It means you have arrived in the city. Fantastic, Issa. So for the preposition and get, Elodie has written, I get along with my parents-in-law. That means that Elodie has a good relationship with her parents-in-law. Thank you for your sentence, Elodie. That was really good. Jamel is getting up now. Hopefully not Jamel. Sometimes I like to sleep in late too, but a really good sentence. Obviously, get up is in reference to coming out of bed. Virginie has written here, when it will be better weather, I will walk. Yeah, so you could say, I will get up when the weather is better. Fantastic. Yeah, Nariman has written, I'm getting down if I stay at home one more week. I think we all will be. Perfect. So we can use it with different prepositions. we talked about getting along, getting out, getting into, and getting around. Okay, so hopefully this has been a really helpful recap for using the verb get. As we've seen today, we have many different examples of how we can use this verb. I hope you've all learned something, and I hope that you've taken something away. Thank you very much for coming today, and thank you very much for your contribution on the chat. It was really interesting, and I get the impression that all of you have a good understanding, which is excellent. I hope you have a really nice day, and we will see you all at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much. Goodbye.